Oof, been a while. Back in the garage or the unit with the Jaguar again. As it's a Jaguar, the suspension is playing up. So I've been on a couple of trips away in it, and first one, when I arrived, I was there for a week. It was fine. No, it wasn't fine actually. On the way down, the engine management light came on, which turned out to be, it said long-term fuel trim on one of the banks. So I've got to deal with that as well. Then after I parked it up, the suspension on this side dropped down pretty much within a couple of minutes. It was right down. And then a little bit later on, I came back to look at it, and the front suspension altogether was on the deck. So that wasn't very good news, and kind of put, took the edge off me a week away, to be honest, a little bit. So when I was away, I ordered a used strut, which is there. If it'll look at it, no, it won't, because it's looking at my face. There we go. Used strut, about 240 quid delivered. I've put one of these from this supplier on the other side, and it says perfect working order, so I think that'll be all right. So I was going to stick that on this morning. I actually, I'll just flip the camera, put my lights on. Oh, look at that, fancy lights. Actually damaged the ABS cable when I turned the wheel to get a bit better access. I'd got some of the components disconnected, and I turned it jacked up like this, and it like crunched the end of the ABS cable, so I had to pop down to SNG to get a good aftermarket one. Genuine ones £220, aftermarket ones £22. So, in fact, I think it was less than that in the end, but perhaps that's because I collected it, I don't know. But so I'm going to stick that all back together in a minute. And then the other thing is now I've done a bit of research, and I'm pretty aware that these cars can have a pretty serious vacuum leak, which I will come to in a bit. So we'll do a bit of investigation shortly. Is that good? I'll tilt that down. Never quite understand how to move the camera if it's not looking at what I want to look at, but there we go. I'll get the hang of it. I haven't used this camera very much since I got it. Just haven't had time really. Just busy, always busy, doing something. So I'm going to crack on with this anyway. Right, that's all done. Of course, I've got to reconnect the airline, so I need to get that old fitting off, where they've just mercilessly hacked it off. Should probably change the O-ring on the fitting as well. In fact, I might go around the whole lot, put new O-rings on. That O-ring is what's holding your car up. Could be the original O-ring. Let's plug that in. Should just pop in there nicely. Somewhere. There we go. So yeah. So that is going to be, let's go around this side. I had my suspicions that it was leaking from down there. That's a common area for vacuum leaks. So you get the torch right in there to actually point it at the place where it's leaking. Oh god, look how difficult that is to get to. So that is, I believe, the brake booster. I don't think I'm going to, I was sort of hoping I'd be able to, I'll show you what else I bought, because I did suspect that was the cause. So I bought this, which is the like union, or what do you call it, I don't even know what it's called, like an insert. That it's a bit of brass with a bit of plastic in the middle of it, and that, I think that what happens is that plastic breaks down over time and just starts to leak quite a lot of fume, you know, air gets past it. So really it's a pain in the arse to fix, because I think really the bulkhead, the false bulkhead here, this plastic thing here, that's got to come off to allow a bit more access, which isn't too bad. Then possibly this as well. I mean, it's not the end of the world. That's pretty easy work, to be honest. It's just having to remove anything else after that point. It's quite sort of labour intensive. So I'm going to start. It's getting serious. The wing covers are out. So yeah, having removed that, it's plain to see that you can't fucking get to it without removing half the engine. Well, I've made some progress. I've removed the false bulkhead in order to gain access, a bit better access to the throttle body. Disconnected the coolant hoses that go through the throttle body and clamped them off. A few other bits and pieces disconnected, and then you can actually see the hose now, which is this one here. And if I, come on, focus. See the hose is quite loose. There's nothing really sealing that up at all, although it won't come out. It's sort of kept in there by that plastic clip thing that's inside. I've tried to pull it out, but it won't come out. So yeah, I've got to come back another day. I've got to take my other car for an MOT now, so fingers crossed we'll get back to this on the weekend, I guess. These things are very difficult to get to and impossible to see. So I plugged my phone in to my little probe camera. I was wiggling it about under there, trying to see what I was doing. But you can't hold the camera, hold the socket, and hold the phone and everything else all at the same time. So what I've done is I'll put that on there like that. That keeps touching on there, which is really useful. A little button that changes the camera mode. Like that. That fixed on there. So now I've got like a socket's eye view with that. Hey! So now I'm going to get in there and undo. I'll try and undo it anyway. Which is still bloody difficult, to be honest. Just wanted to, whilst I'm on the subject, just have a little message from this video's sponsor. Right, this video is sponsored by wood. From the smallest of matchsticks to the largest of oak frame buildings or even ships, wood is useful for all kinds of construction and craft. You can find wood at your local builder's merchant or any other timber merchants or suppliers. Use wood to make things wood. I am going to, let's just make sure that's focused. I'm going to, so that's the insert that you get to repair this elbow where the vacuum leak is. It comes with these already inserted. I've pulled them out of there, and what I'm going to do is push that O-ring goes right to the back of there, and it sits up against that ridge which you can see inside there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this O-ring in. I've cleaned up the old hole and I've pulled out the old plastic and the O-ring. I've cleaned it up with some brake cleaner and a nylon brush, and I'm going to push that into there. It's going to be a bit of a fiddle to get it in, but it will go in. I'll probably lose it down the engine somewhere. And then push that in, and then hopefully the pipe will go into where it belongs and seal up nicely. If it doesn't, then I will carry on and get the elbow off. Right, what I've done is I gave up on trying to get the whole thing off. It's just I've done it before and it's a bloody nightmare. You have to undo the EGR valve, which is this thing here, and the bolts that secure it are under here, which you can barely get to. I did it before because I had literally no alternative, and it took me all day just to get the bolts off. This time round I don't really want to undo the pipes to it either, because they were also a nightmare. You can see the pipes there. Let's try and focus the camera on that area. So there's the one pipe, and then the other pipe. See my finger, it's just sort of to the right of that on the screen, and then the bolts are securing it are underneath their M8 heads. Anyway, so what I've done is I've pulled out the insert and the O-ring, and I've cleaned up the brass insert. I pulled out the plastic insert and the O-ring as I just described. I've pushed the O-ring in. I've got some footage on that with the little probe camera. I've put some hematite, some red hylatite it's called, around the tube and pushed it back in, and it just pushes up to the O-ring in there, which is not a very good way to secure it in there really. I was thinking if that fails, or if I have to come back to this again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a fitting, a screw-in barbed fitting, and I'm going to screw it in with some PTFE tape, and I'll just run a little bit of rubber hose off that up, and then sort of tie that, fasten that to this tube here. So we'll see. I'll do a smoke test when I get it all back together and see how it looks. And fingers crossed it will seal up. It's not the sort of thing you want to be doing, is crossing fingers with this sort of thing though, is it really? It's just annoying. I mean, the car ran fine, but it's just, it did throw a code a couple of times, and I think that's probably what the cause of the code was. So anyway, back to it. Well, that seems to be sorted. I haven't done a smoke test because I just haven't had time. I've run out of time now really. I've got to go. It's getting late. Took me ages. Normally does, always does. I'm not very quick at this sort of thing. Put everything back together. Been up and down the road. Suspension strut seems to be fine. The leak seems to be fine. There's no codes or anything like that. So I'll run it for a bit. I did notice actually, one of the things that worried me was, I'll just show you this here, the old flipperoo. So these black parts here, so there's like a stamped metal plate there with like a flange on it, this piece, and then there's this piece here which is also a stamped metal plate, and then there's a piece of moulded rubber glued on to the inside of this metal flange, and those plates can move up and in and out like that, and that enables you to like put that intake plenum thing, the thing that brings the air from the supercharger into the charge coolers, this bit under here, that joins them together, and that rubber, like, it's like an oval shaped thick rubber oval, seals up those two parts, those two metal parts, the black pieces. And I did wonder whether that was sealing very well. You know, I'm guessing that's the sort of thing you need to replace every now and then. It potentially could leak, so we'll see what happens. Otherwise, I'm thinking, I spoke to my mate here as well, and he said, well, what about O2 sensors? And I was like, good point. Probably wouldn't hurt to, you know, if it comes up again, change the O2 sensors just to eliminate them from the equation. Just something that you've got to do, really, isn't it? I've lost some of my little rubber doofers have popped out of there. Pull that through. It'll come through. There we go. Anyway, it's a shame you can't find these in scrapyards, really, because I'm going to rob a load of bits off them if I could. But they're not very common cars, are they? And there aren't. It's not exactly like there's many scrapyards about like there used to be. In the good old days, you could rummage about and have loads of crap for 20 quid. Anyway, I'm going to close that and go home because I'm hungry and tired. And the place is a mess. I've had a bit of a tidy up, but it's still a bit of a mess. So I'll come back on the weekend or something and have a good sort out. Did I torque those wheels up? Yeah, I did. Done everything. Right, done.